air belt. So we do not practice meditation in order to gain anything. There's some special state. We don't practice in order to get rid of anything. Practicing in order to let go of all that confuses and dirties the mind. The Buddha said the mind's like water. The mind, if we allow the mind to have the sensual thoughts, it's like the water is filled with many different colors. You cannot see through the water. Water has lost its transparency. Allow the hindrance of ill will into your mind, like the mind, water is boiling. Water is boiling, it's not still, you cannot see through it, not transparent. Allow the sleepiness to take over your mind. It's like the weeds, pondweed covered over the water. You cannot see the water anymore. The agitation in the mind is like the waves disturbing the mind, not still, not transparent. Lastly, if you have the doubts and the irresolution, like the water is in darkness, you cannot see anything. In meditation, whatever technique we use, we have to abandon the five hindrances, see them, understand them, let go of them. Buddha, the word Buddha means awake. So we must try to be awake. We are awake to the in-breath, awake to the out-breath, using the breath as a tool, as a skillful means to help us to be awake, aware, mindful, in the present moment, ready to see truth of the body and mind. So if you'd like to open your eyes, another meditation. Ask the Thai group to formally request the Dhamma discourse to honor you. Namo tassa bhagava arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagava arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagava arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang Dhammang Sanghang Penutrang Upacayang Namasami. When we are children, small children, we tend to look at our parents like they are gods. Everything they do is right. And then we get a bit older, and then one day we realize our parents are just ordinary people. They have their faults, they have their weaknesses, their vices, like everyone else. It doesn't mean you love your mother or your father any less, but it's a more mature love when you acknowledge the full range of another person's good and bad qualities. Then maybe sometime later you have another shock. You realize that most of the people in authority in the society in which you live, this is every society, they don't really know what they're talking about. I'll give you an example. When we start to practice meditation, people will say, that's all very well, you sitting with your eyes closed, becoming very peaceful. But what happens when you have to make your way in the real world? This is a favorite phrase, isn't it, for people who live the worldly life. They say the real world. We're not in the real world. But then if you ask somebody, well, what is the real world? You say we should live in the real world. We should be interested in the real world. What is the real world? And then we find they cannot answer. They don't know. It's just a phrase that they heard. But we as Buddhists, we do have an answer. What is the real world? And the real world is the world of direct experience. So your real world is the things that you see, things that you hear, things you smell, the things you taste, things you touch, and the thoughts and memories, imagination in your mind. That's your world. We all have our own world. And because particularly our thoughts and ideas and values vary from person to person, in a family living in one small house, or people in the same room can be living in a different world. It's their world. So the Buddha said we need to understand the world, meaning our own world. I'll give you an example of how we create a world, or two people living in the same house, or the same room, can be living in different worlds. When we receive information from outside, or when we think about things, we always have a frame. We always see things through a frame. So if someone is very depressed, they have a frame, they have a depression frame, which means when they have some problem, meet some obstacle, their frame is, I am such a hopeless person. I am no good. Nothing I do ever turns out well. Everything I do falls to pieces. And so when that person meets a problem or an obstacle, they see it through that frame and they say, here we go again. Yes, I'm so terrible, I'm so hopeless. Um, every time I try to do something, it's never smooth sailing. There's always some obstacle. Now, someone else in the same room or the same house, Buddhist, maybe has a Buddhist frame. And what is the Buddhist frame? The Buddhist frame is that our identity as human beings, what makes us truly human, is our capacity to learn. We are learners. The Buddha once called the Arahant the Aseka Pugala, which means the graduate. So the only person who has nothing more to learn is the Buddha himself and the Arahants. All the rest of us are learners. This is our frame for living in the world, to create our world. So let's say Buddhist meditator is in the same room as the depressed person. They share the same life. external life. And there is a problem. And the depressed person blames themselves, I'm so bad, I'm so hopeless. And the Buddhist says, what is this? What is happening here? I need to learn from this. I am a learner. I can learn from pleasant experience and I can learn from unpleasant experience. I can learn when things go well and I can learn when things go badly. The world is my teacher. Everything that happens in life is my teacher. Even the things that cause me pain, they can teach me because I am a student of life. So as Buddhist meditators, this is our frame. We are students of life. And we have the confidence that we can learn. Buddha pointed out that there is a distinction between pain and suffering. You can experience pain and not suffer. In meditation, you may have already proved this to yourself. When we have a pain in meditation, let's say you have the pain in your knee or the pain in your back. So there is pain and there is also suffering. Why is there suffering? Because the moment there is the physical pain, we have the reaction. This is in Pali we call vibhava tanha. It's the craving not to have this pain. This is normal and natural for everyone. Nobody likes pain. But with that reaction, there are thoughts of anxiety and fear and disappointment and anger, so many different negative mental states arise and grasp onto the pain. So for someone who does not meditate, who never looked and never learned from their body and mind, oh, so much suffering, so much pain, it's like one thing. But all of the negative mental states, like fear, anxiety, aversion, and so on, are not part of nature. They're something that you add on to nature. So if you sit, or if you not usually sit on the floor, or you usually sit for a few minutes, if you sit cross-legged after 20, 30 minutes, you're going to have some pain. That's nature. It's the nature of physical body. But when we add on to it, it becomes suffering. So how can we stop this happening? How can we let pain be pain and let go of causes of suffering? So of all of the negative reaction to pain, the unifying feature is that they are all rejection of the present phenomena. This is right now, this is your real world. This is your world. It's like this. And we examine. And we can see that if the suffering is the result of rejection, not wanting it to be like this, or thinking it should not be like this, or feeling sorry for yourself. Oh, I came all the way, I want to meditate so much, and then this happens, and I feel pity. All of these thoughts and emotions are based upon rejection of the present reality. So one simple means of dealing with this is cultivating the exact opposite, absolute acceptance. So we begin with rejection. I don't want this. And we can replace this with acceptance. So acceptance, absolute acceptance, we have word for this in Pali, is metta, or loving kindness. So you can use the Anapanasati, for instance, and feel like you imagine that your breath is coming in and out of your knee, let's say, where it's painful. And you just feel this love, this kindness and love going to the sensation in your knee and coming out and coming in. And then we can observe that if you have the wholesome Dhamma, the acceptance in the mind, and you can sustain the unwholesome mental state, the rejection disappears. It's simply replacing. You replace the negative with the positive. So this is one of the practices under umbrella of what we call samatha. Samatha doesn't mean just focus on an object. Samatha means all of the skillful means that we can use to deal with akusala dhamma and replace, for instance, with kusala dhamma. So if we practice like this, what happens? There is pain. It does not mean necessarily the pain will disappear, but it's only pain. And so much of our life is influenced by fear of suffering. We're not yet suffering, and we're already afraid of future suffering. So we suffer about suffering that might yet never occur. But if we come to the real world is the real present reality. What is happening right now? And we can see that we have hope. There is something we can do. We cannot expect or dream to have a life without pain. But we can develop tools to reduce or even to eliminate the suffering that arises on top of the pain. One of the similes given by the Lord Buddha compares these two. He says it's like either getting shot by an arrow. So the arrow is painful, that's pain. Or an arrow with the poison on the tip. So when you reject and you fight against the pain, then it's like you put poison into the wound, make it much worse than it should be. This is why I always find it a shame that in the Western world, or even the parts of the Eastern world which are affected, influenced by the West, when somebody has cancer, for instance, they say they're going to fight against the cancer. And then when somebody dies, they say, he finally lost his battle against cancer. You know, it's like this cancer is this terrible enemy you have to fight with. But cancer is just part of nature. It's also part of nature. And you can receive treatment and care for your body with mindfulness, um, and respect, but you don't have to make an enemy out of the disease and make it into a battle. So the real world, how do we know the real world? We know the real world when we can let go of all the thoughts and desires and expectation and defilement and then see things as they are. So in one of these sequences, process of development of meditation, the Buddha says that sukha or happiness, this means the happiness coming from within, not from outside. This happiness comes as we develop sati, mindfulness further. Sukha is the cause and the condition for samadhi. So some meditators, they are afraid of sukha. Oh, if we get too much sukha, we get lost and we go the wrong way. But sukha is not the goal, but it is a station on the way. And sukha leads to samadhi. If you are not finding sukha in good qualities, in generosity and sila and meditation, then you will look for sukha elsewhere, in things which are not wholesome and and retard your progress on the path. Everyone needs some sukha, but how intelligent are you in choosing your source of sukha? So, with sukha is the condition for samadhi, and samadhi is the condition for yathabhuta jnana dasana. So jnana is like jnana is the knowledge, dasana is vision, knowledge and vision. Yathabhuta is things as they are. When we have the craving and the defilement in our mind, we don't see things as they are. The defilements distort our vision and understanding of life. Defilements make us stupid. Greed makes us stupid. Anger makes us stupid. Living in a big city, there are so many advertisements. This is an interesting study. I always like to study the advertisements in the countries and the cities because the advertisers, they want to press the button. You know, they want to manipulate you. They want you to buy their product. So what psychological means do they use in the advertisements? You will observe that they use defilement, human defilement, as their main tool. If they can stimulate your greed, or your lust, or your jealousy, or your fear, then maybe you will buy their product. But have you ever seen advertisements that try to manipulate you with your mindfulness, or your kindness, or your patience, for instance? No, because goodness makes you smile. In fact, the word for goodness in Pali is kusala. And the root of kusala, or is the same, means smart, means intelligent. sometimes, again, I take this to be influenced from other cultures. You hear people say, uh, he's such a good person, but he's not very smart. Or he's such a smart person, but he's not very good person. From Buddhist point of view, this is meaningless statement because for goodness to be goodness in the Buddhist sense, you have to be smart. It's an expression of intelligence. And if you're truly smart, you're truly intelligent, then you will be good because these things are inseparable. I will give you an example. If you really understand karma, which is the most important force in our life, intentional action and its results, how we create our world. Our life is not proceeding according to fate, according to God. God is testing us, God is punishing us, God is rewarding us, or else people believe it's like random, there's no reason to it. So there are all these beliefs and ideas, but the Buddha says there is a causal process. And this causal process we call karma. So every time you act, or you speak, or you think intentionally, with volition, there is karma, and there is a result. There will be a result which is in harmony, which follows on from that intention. So when you study this and observe it in your life, wisdom arises, and the wisdom manifests in your conduct. So you can say that anybody who does not keep the five precepts, it's not just that they're not good people, they're stupid. Because if you really understand the law of karma, there's no way you would break the five precepts. Someone who keeps five precepts is intelligent enough to understand the laws underlying human welfare, human progress, human flourishing. So even if you've got a master's degree, a doctorate, two doctorates, three doctorates, who cares? If you don't understand real world of your conduct and your mind and your thinking, we cannot call you a bandit. We cannot call you a smart person in any way. So the goodness and the intelligence go together. When we are greedy, we're stupid. There's so many things in the real world. You know, mostly, let's say you have a newspaper or you have some advertising space. So businesses will get in touch with you and they will pay you money to advertise for them. Is that correct? Yeah. But then, what about the case of people who pay companies huge amounts of money to advertise for them? Have you ever heard of that? People paying companies to advertise for them. Yeah, it's people who buy brand name merchandise, buy a handbag, and you walk around, you pay huge amount of money, much more than you need to pay for the handbag, and then you advertise for the company that produced the handbag free. I can't understand this. Why? Well, I can. But you see, the question of what is materialism? It's not such a easy question to ask. You say, oh, someone pays so much money for the brand name handbag, or the brand name shoes, or the brand name this or that. You say, well, why would they be willing to do that? Is the material, are they materialist people? Oh, do you mean that the materials are so much better than the cheap handbag? Well, often no. It's not in the material, but what people want is a feeling, isn't it? What you want is the feeling that I am one of the group of people that has this kind of handbag. I am now in this group of handbag ladies, Gucci handbag ladies, or whatever. And this is, so what people want is not the material thing, it's a handbag. They want a feeling. I am this kind of person. I am on this level of person. I am in this group of people. It's just a feeling. It's a feeling that rises and passes away in the mind. So people are working so hard, making so much money because they want a little feeling to arise and pass away in their mind a few times a day. So it's quite ridiculous, isn't it? At least I find it so. So we look at the ways in which craving affects your life and how it changes the way you relate to other people. So when you have a strong desire for something, then you start to see the people around you as either competitors or else people that you need to take advantage of, or that you can trample upon. So the strong desire makes you compromise on your values and standards, and often can lead you to break precepts and create a very bad karma. So this is why the craving makes you stupid. And then when the craving becomes on a particular thing, becomes very strong, then it becomes upadana, it becomes attachment. That's when you start to put too much value on that thing. So you want this thing. If I can't have this thing, I'd rather die. It's like it's so important to me. You know, that's what we call upadana. It means you put value on things beyond what they are worth. This is attachment. We create the suffering for ourselves. So when we are craving something, then we're obviously looking ourselves in a rather negative way, aren't we? We can say low self-esteem. Why? Because when you think I can only be happy if I have this thing that I want, then it means right now you are incomplete. Right now you are lacking something. And only if I get that thing will I be complete. You see, like in the romantic stories and movies, when they find a person, they like say, "You complete me." It's just like, yeah, so sweet. Huh? But so that means if you don't have that person, that means you are incomplete. Is that correct? No, I don't think so. So we need a bit more respect for ourselves, don't we? And craving is always demanding things that we cannot have, and unrealistic expectation, and that leads to disappointment. So one of the modern Western ideas is just believe. If you believe, you can achieve anything. But that's not true, is it? How could that be true? If you are 5'4" and you want to be the international basketball star, just believe. No, I mean you cannot. It's so obvious that it's incredible that we even have to make this point. But this idea, this raising up belief and confidence far beyond its true role in life, is a cause of so many problems these days. And the idea that there's something noble in dreaming and chasing dreams which are impossible to fulfill. This is the Hollywood idea of life. But we need to come back to the real world. And this is what we are developing the familiarity with in meditation. And we say, okay, how do we achieve success in something? Well, first we need to choose our goals well, a goal that stretches us, a goal which is noble, good, and one in which we can achieve without breaking any of the precepts, and a one in which we can, as well as striving for our goal, we can also develop in the Dhamma. Faith is and belief is important, but so is patience, so is humility, so is kindness, empathy. You can't just take one thing and say, I have this one thing, and then everything will be okay. Everything will turn out fine. So in the real world, we try to learn from experience. And the more mindful you are, the more you're able to learn from experience. If you're not mindful, you lack the mental strength and sharpness and stability you need to be a good learner. Let's take the example of worldly dhammas, praise and blame. So somebody praises you, it's just normal, natural. Ah, so nice. People say, oh, you're so good, you're so this. Feels nice. But it's just praise. Praise doesn't make you any better, doesn't help you in any way. And if you like praise and you enjoy praise to the level you indulge in praise, there's a shadow side. You start to fear and resent and hate criticism. The more that you indulge in praise, the more you will suffer when you are criticized. So people want just like one side of things. I would like the joy and the pleasure of being praised, but I don't want to feel bad when people criticize me. It's not possible. It's like excitement and boredom. Nobody likes to be bored. But why do we get bored so easily? Because we are addicted to excitement. And the more you're addicted to excitement, the more easily bored you will become. So most people would jump at the chance, I've got a pill or I've got a method. You will be free from boredom forever. Oh yes, most people would like this. Nobody wants to be bored. Yeah, there's just one catch. You have to give up excitement. No, well, I'm not so sure. But these two things go together. And this is what I'm talking about, the real world. We can start to realize this by looking within. And in daily life, the things that happen, they're teaching us. When you get upset, when you get angry, why? Why get angry? You get angry, it makes you stupid. Why make yourself stupid? Anger is like poison. Why drink the poison? There's always, in the defilement, there is something there that we want. I'm sure most people say, yeah, I don't like to be angry. I wish I did not lose my temper. I wish I was kind. But at the same time, there is one part of you that actually likes the anger. That's why it doesn't ever go away. And unless you can identify the pleasure you take in anger, then you will never be free of it. So we can see that anger is attractive to people without power. Why? Because historically, if you're of a low social class, or if you're a woman in any social class, people don't listen to you very much. Men don't listen to you very much. Your opinions are not respected. You say something, it's as if they didn't hear. But there's one time when people listen to you, when you get angry. Yeah? So that's the charm of anger. You know, everybody's okay. Don't get angry. Just tell me what it is. You know, so people listen to you, and that's the hook. It's like the hook for the fish. Hook for the fish is that sense of temporary power you get when you're angry. That people will take you seriously, at least for a few minutes. But it's not worth it, and there are better ways of dealing with situations than with anger. Because all problems, I would say, are most problems are complex, many causes and conditions coming into play. And you need to be very smart and mindful to pick them all apart. But when you are angry, everything is black and white. You cannot see the subtleties of situation. You cannot think short term, long term, and so on. It's just right here, right now, this feeling. So anger makes you stupid. Greed makes you stupid. I'll tell you a funny story about greed. And so there was a man and a wife, 60 years old, and they are walking on the beach, Chapati Beach. It's their anniversary, and they see the bottle in the sand. Pick up the bottle. The genie comes out, incredible, and said, "I'm going to give you a wish, one wish for each. You can whisper in my ear." So the women said, "I would like 20 billion rupees deposited in my account right now." And this. And then a telephone beep, beep, beep. 20 billion baht has been, wow, incredible. So then the man, he says to the genie, "I would like my wife to be 30 years younger than me." And he looks, and he's so disappointed. She's just the same. She hasn't changed. And then his wife looks at him, ah, he's turned into a 90-year-old man. Now his wife is 30 years younger than him. So this is like a joke about greed. You know, you think you want something and everything will work out fine. Everything will be better when you get what you want. But if you've still got greed and hatred and anger and all these things in your heart, you can change the society, becomes more equal and fair. And even if and these are important reforms to work for, and not denigrating these things. But human history has shown us that no external reform will have any lasting effect on human welfare unless there is the inner reform. And as Buddhists, we are so fortunate that we have this Buddhist technology for dealing with the inner world and for creating true transformation. We learn to sit in the present moment and open ourselves and learn from our experience. And what can we learn? Well, we can learn about anicca, we can learn about dukkha, we can learn about anatta, we learn about kusala, akusala, we learn about the causes of progress, the causes of decline, the causes of happiness, the causes of pain. We can learn in this real world that we access through developing the skill to dwell in the present moment. So I'd like to offer this talk to you this afternoon, and I have time for two or three questions before we.
मला प्रश्न विचारायचे असतील तर त्यांना विचारू शकता.
For your enlightenment. I have one question. So, I'm a student of history, but by profession, I'm teaching in a college. I teach ancient India. So, but I'm very much, uh, got attracted to spirituality and realized that even if teaching is such a noble job, I'm there for a purpose. So, as you said about, you know, everyone had a attraction to it materialistic. So even the students are addicted to having the iPhone and all, where they are get distracted with the true purpose of life. So would you like to give some advice, like being a teacher? What is my role where I can actually, bring them back to the true purpose of life?
One of the one of the things that I speak to about teachers in Thailand is I say the most important thing you teach is who you are. Who you are as a person is transmitted to the teacher children every day, and maybe more powerfully than the content of what you teach. I've spoken to many teachers who have observed if they meditate in the morning and they feel quite calm and centered, then their students tend to be quite calm. But on the day when they're kind of agitated, they have many things, and then the students seem to absorb this and they're also kind of distracted. I think that so your state of mind, your presence, that is something you give to them also. And you can give a good version of yourself through practice of meditation. I my preferred method is to talk to children and ask them to explain themselves and give them that, or high school students or even university students, explain, why you think this is a good thing, and what is your, so engaging them in dialogue rather than saying, you're using your phone too much, you're getting distracted, you're not studying well, but if we say, let's this morning, let's just talk about social media and how it affects us. And even as a history teacher, you can embed that in, communication methods through the centuries, and so give it some context. And now so there's a whole history of communication and how people communicate. Um, and so this is our preferred method right now. What do you think are the pros and cons compared with how people in ancient India used to communicate? And then you say, personally, I find it very difficult to control the amount of time that I spend. I have good resolutions, but often, do you feel the same? Do you have the same problem? How do you deal with it? Has anybody got any good ideas? So my idea is that the problems that come up, they are all part of the education process. We can expand to include these things. It's not like things from outside impinging on our teaching, but these are things that we can include in our teaching. Yeah.
Vandani Venkateshi. I just want to know, like in this material life, when we work for the professional side and as well as in the married life, how do we have to deal with the stressful conditions? This is my first question.
So how do we deal with
Stressful condition. So how do we deal with the stressful conditions when we try to maintain the prestige, when we try to be the samadhi and the pavanya, but it sometimes we don't get that fulfilled. So how do you have to tackle with such situation?
Thank you. Well, first of all, I think that we can make a distinction between pressure and stress. There's no way we can live a life without pressure. We have pressures from our family and pressure, work pressures and so on. But this does not necessarily mean that we have to be stressed by them. So stress is something that comes from adding something on top. A little bit like I was talking about physical pain and suffering. So when we're adding on these anxious thoughts, or this feeling that I have no control over my life, and it's just too much, it's pulling me this way and pulling me that way. So one, it may well be a wake-up call that you need to make some adjustments in your life and simplify things wherever you can. There are some things which cannot be changed or simplified, of course, but we can find in certain areas of life we can simplify. And if we can do that, it helps a lot. But also knowing thought and knowing anxiety, this is thought, this is anxiety, it's a mental state. So again, having that sharpness of mindfulness, where we have the two kinds of thinking. We have the trigger thought, which come from something you hear or see or memory, and then the mind just goes into the rut. And if you have the sharp mindfulness, you can stop just at the trigger thought and not let it go into the rut. So this is very helpful and important. Also in the daily life, there are many short periods of time where you don't have to be doing anything specific. For instance, you could be standing in a lift, walking up and down stairs, walking from a building to a car or a vehicle and back. 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 1 minute. And if you can reclaim these short periods, just come back to your body and your breathing and just relax. Establish mindfulness. Because I think that even for quite stressful life, there's not really major stressful incidents every day. It's more minor, small incident accumulate through the day. So if you can chop, and not allow these incidents to accumulate, then you can reduce that feeling. So when you're standing in the lift, you don't look in the mirror, do your hair, you just come to your breath. When you're walking upstairs and you're not thinking about what you just did and where you're going to, what you're going to do, but you're in the present moment, walking upstairs, and it's just come back to yourself, come back to your real world. Yeah.
Oh, okay. My question is, how we students should be focused in each and everything. Since nowadays there are things which are glorified in nature. Earlier it was the time when education is on the loop side, right, on the straight side. Nowadays there are many more things which are much more glorified, and there are students who actually uh, in a way, we can say that they don't see the path where they should go, and what is the life according to you that students should be there in that particular state.
Yes, well, I think this is why we have the Buddhist teachings and Buddhist education, because this is the root science or the root discipline. It's a whole question of what does it mean to be a human being? What is a good life? What is the right life? What are my values? What is my ultimate purpose in life? Because in the studies and in work, we're always being drawn into the smaller concerns, of making money and making yourself a career, or in education, as you say. But you have to be able to step back from that and have to see the big picture. I am a human being. I get older every day. I'm going to get sick. I'm going to die. What can I do to make this a worthwhile life? And it's only when you can step back from all the immediate pressures and expectations
and goals, small goals. You need to align yourself with the big goal in life. Okay, I am sorry, I'm going to have to say goodbye because I have another group of people waiting for me. And so you waited for an hour and a half, they're already waiting for 45 minutes, so it's probably, and then tonight I'm flying back to Thailand. So quite a busy day today, and so I would like to spend more time with you, and I hope to come and see you all again in the future.
We are running out of time, so we are not taking any question answers. After this, we will do donations. Who have got donations, please come forward. Come one by one.
सर्वांनी सर्वांनी इथे घ्यायचं आणि पटकन मागं जाऊन बंधन करायचं. मागं जाऊन बंधन करायचं. मागं जाऊन बंधन.
जो मुलगा दानासाठी नावं लिहित होता त्याने लवकर यावं इथे आणि लिस्ट घेऊन यायचंय माझ्याकडे. प्लीज कोणी गडबड करू नका, तुमची नावं घेतली जातील. एक मिनिट, पहिले आपले चित्र वेगवेगळा संस्थेतर्फे दान होईल.
ถ้าของ
सर्वांनी शांत राहायचं.
เดี๋ยวชิม
फक्त 10 मिनिट द्या.
लवकर मागं जा.
सर या छोट्या मुलाला पैसे डोनेट करायचे नाही, तुम्ही मागं जा. पैसे नाही, थांबा. बोला ना तुम्ही माईक मध्ये. लवकर मागं जा म्हणून. जा मागं जा. नाही नाही, वन बाय नाही. चला करू कसं?
People announced that when after offering them to come to the seat and provide the seat. Yeah, so it's take a lot of time.
कसं करू नका. द्या द्या मागवा 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 मागे मागे वा मागे मागे वा मागे वा मागे मागे वा. Okay.